Today I'll be talking about the story of Liberty Leading the People for my final presentation. Here's a picture of the painting before we get into any of the details. So this painting was made by Eugene Delacroix in the autumn of 1830. It is a Romantic era painting, which was an era focused on the passion of people and the worth of the individual. The painting itself is 102.4 inches by 128 inches. It is currently being displayed in the Louvre Museum in Paris, France, and it is an oil on canvas painting. So the history behind the piece: the painting commemorates the French July Revolution of 1830, which was a result of King Charles X, pictured here, being pretty much a terrible ruler and instituting a bunch of restrictive ordinances on the people of France. For example, he gave the death penalty to anyone who insulted the Eucharist in any way. The July Revolution overthrew King Charles X and reinstituted the constitutional monarchy that came before him. The painting itself was bought by the French government in 1831. It was intended to be displayed in the throne room of Louis Philippe, the recently installed citizen king of France, and remind him of what happens to tyrants. However, the painting was hidden away and eventually returned to Delacroix, and it wasn't until 1874, after multiple governments, another revolution, and the formation of the Third French Republic, that the painting was finally permanently displayed in the Louvre Museum in Paris. So now we're going to talk about the subject matter, symbolism, and story of the painting that caused it to be hidden away. So the main subject of the painting is the Goddess of Liberty leading the people in a charge against the royal forces. The revolutionaries behind the Goddess of Liberty represent the different social classes of France. For example, the man in the top hat represents the upper class and potentially the government. The boy right here and the woman in the background in a bonnet represent the poor working class of France, while the man in the bicorn is supposed to be a student of the École Polymath School, and he represents the middle class. The tricolor flag being held by the Goddess of Liberty represents the French Republic, while the Fijian cap she's wearing represents the First French Revolution and liberty. The fallen soldiers on the ground are loyal to the crown and represent the tyrannical government being overthrown. So for the story and message of the painting, Delacroix wanted to show his hope for the future with a new constitutional monarchy and just show his general support for the revolution. He wanted to say that liberty is beautiful, but sacrifice, destruction, and violence are often required to win liberty from tyrants. The revolution itself took over 1,000 lives, with a majority of those being the revolutionaries. It also resulted in lots of destruction in Paris, with multiple buildings being sacked and almost 2,000 streetlights in the city being destroyed. This is shown with the destruction on the ground, the bodies, and the general debris being contrasted with the beautiful liberty and all the unified people behind her. And it's just meant to show that liberty and freedom are good, but they often come with a price. The second message that Delacroix wanted to show is that unity is required for liberty to succeed. The revolution united the social classes of France together. The government and the citizens united to overthrow the tyrannical Charles X. Citizens fought in the streets of Paris against soldiers loyal to the crown, while both chambers of French Parliament rejected multiple laws of Charles X and passed a vote of no confidence. And this is shown in the various revolutionaries from different classes that we discussed earlier. And all of this is meant to show that if the people of France are united together, then they can overcome any sort of tyranny. So in conclusion, the messages and symbolism of unity and liberty in the painting, and the painting's overall support of the July Revolution and revolutions in general, is why the various governments of France hid the painting for 44 years. And this just goes to show how powerful the message being portrayed in the painting is. It shows how united the people of France are, and it shows how strong they can be when they are fighting together for liberty and to make the lives of their fellow citizens better. And overall, I think the fact that this painting was hid for almost half a decade, and the reasons why it was hid, is the painting's most interesting story. So here are my references for all the information in the slides. There are in-text citations at the bottom of each slide, but here's the MLA format for those. And that's it. Thank you for watching.